David, you talk about net result in a trade period. Where does Adelaide stand on its net?
No, we're really satisfied. I think, Rich, in what we've been able to pull together. I think the planning and the execution's been really well handled by the whole group, I think, overall. So, there's a lot of work that has to go into the actual assessment of the draft. Like there's an early piece of work that needs to go into that. So, Hamish has to bring that to the table. Reedy has to work out where our list numbers and, collectively we work out the strategy, and I think it's been a really positive result for us.
Did you get everyone that you had on your wish list? Do you think you filled the gaps that you have on your list?
Yeah, I think what we targeted we got, absolutely. And that's where there's a fair piece of planning that goes into it and I think initially you've got to actually really understand where your list's at. That's one of the most important aspects, and what your immediate needs. I mean, we've always said that you trade for needs and you draft your talent. So be able to pull together what we've did has been a terrific result.
So are you still going for best talent in the draft, or is there a bit of a shift towards SA based product?
No, I think you go best talent. Yeah, I think you need to go best talent. If the SA talent fits in that top bracket, that's a bonus. But we're a national competition. For everyone that goes home, we've got a number of interstate guys that stay. Sloane, McKay, Tommy Lynch, Josh Jenkins. I mean, you could just keep rattling through them. So, no, I don't think that's and you just got to be careful that you don't outweigh that. I mean, we can pick all SA guys, as any of the interstate clubs can, but again, it's the end of the day, you're assessed on your wins and losses. So we've got to make sure that there's good talent in there for to Don to come in and do his job.
David, was there one that you didn't expect that you did get this top of those? Beside Gore, who goes in the day, but the other three, were there any of those three late on you? Or
well, no, I wouldn't say they're late. I mean, I think if you're planning strong enough, they're there. But what the Dangerfield deal early reach allows us to do is to manoeuvre our way through. You can take your time to assess a Menzel in that case and really pull apart what you actually need to assess from where he fits in your list and how your cap fits. Apart from having the picks to be able to trade, there's also the TPP. You've got to be able to fit them in from that side of things. So there's a cash or a budgetary consideration that goes with that as well. So no, there wasn't sitting here. There wasn't anything that we thought we missed that we could have got or that slipped through our fingers. Probably wouldn't tell you anyway. But there wasn't anything that comes to hand that I think, we needed to assess another element of our list going forward. Probably still got a couple of other needs that we need to address going forward. Can we do that through the draft? Not sure. It'll just depend on what talent's available at that time.
What are those needs, Dave?
Oh, look, I think we've just got to continue now that we've got our mids and the runners. We now go through, I reckon, Theo, and have a look at the tools. The rucks, where we're going with that. I mean, that'll be an ongoing piece in the next probably couple of years, I think, where that is. What I think we've done more importantly is we've probably restocked in the age demographic that we'd probably been hamstrung on previous years due to other circumstances. So to be able to bring that group through now in that bracket of 21 to 23, 4-year-olds, and look, each of those guys that we bring into the club clearly understand that this is a team first environment, and they've got some work to do. None of them are going to be given a walk-up start. They all understand that it's hard work, and there's going to be a level of demand that our leadership group's going to put upon them.
You can't replace the Dangerfield overnight.
Nope.
But in terms of that net assessment that you have, you find yourself behind on games played and quality, or do you think you've spread out the Dangerfield factor?
Yeah, I think if you look at it as a straight in and out, you probably say you don't necessarily replace it. But, the research and the time we've spent with other sports, Rich, particularly the American sports, they've helped us understand that what you lose, you don't necessarily bring back in one piece. You have to pull it apart and you have to then work around what that looks like to be able to bring some speed in that you miss out on with the Dangerfield, and maybe some execution you bring in with someone else. So you actually pull apart the pieces that are exiting, but you bring them in a different format. And that's why, we've been really pleased with what we've done. We believe that the components that we've lost, you're able to bring in. Are you going to ever compare it to a straight loss? Probably not. And that's never been our strategy. We were never going after to try to replace, a Patrick Dangerfield for another ex-player. It's the understanding of how you can actually, if you're smart enough and your intel's diligent enough, you're able to pick your way through the available talent in the marketplace.
When you've seen the Carlisle moment overnight,
yep,
and we've had this fair bit of debate as to should the strikes be known or not known, does it leave you a little worried about how you work through the market? Because it's a buyer beware market.
Look, I think you're always worried. You're always worried about your own players, let alone anyone that you're bringing in. So, look, there's a range of topics there that need to be ongoing discussions with the AFL, which we're having. In regards to the drug policy, what does it look like? We've got a bunch of young men that are in the industry, and in society, in the environmental group that we've got, they are a vulnerable group of young men. I think all of us of clubs are making sure we've got systems in place that can support them and educate them.
So how do you do your intel then to make sure you don't buy a player that you may not even see for a couple of years?
There's a number of different ways. I think most clubs would be reliant on their leadership group as a starting point. Apart from the medical components, we're all very much aware that the players hear information way before we do.
Is there a better way of doing it? So you don't...
The trade, or...?
No, so you don't buy what could then be a broken product?
I don't think so. I think it's the way that it's currently constructed is fine. I don't think too many clubs have got too many issues with, the way that the trade's constructed, how they research. You've got the AFL Integrity Group there that's there to help you. We've used them in the past with certain issues. It's not only just for the integrity, of the game in regards to gambling and compliance and all that type of thing. It may well be that part of it is part of recruitment as well. They're certainly there to offer that service.
Do you ask the question direct, or is that not allowed?
With
a player, is there something we should know? Is that question put to a player when you do the intel?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Why shouldn't you ask that?
Is there a bit of tidying up on the list to still go, Dave?
Yeah, I think so, Theo. We'll have our final list management early next week. We'll look at the numbers, have a look at where the rookie structure looks like. We've got a couple of Cat Bs that we've brought in that we're looking at. So we'll look at what the numbers look like as far as whether you go the full 40, whether you have one short and a nominated rookie, which allows you to pick up an extra rookie. So all of that component's probably still just to be finalised early next week. We've got list lodgement coming up in not too distant future.
Spoke about the American sports stuff. Do you feel the philosophy of the draft has gone that way, where clubs try and recruit ready-made players that have been in the system to fill sort of components, sort of like a Moneyball aspect?
Yeah, it's an interesting debate. There's no doubt when you have a look at, and some clubs have probably been put into a situation where they're forced to look at that. Whether it's a Hawthorn or a Sydney, that have lower-end picks that look at the capacity to pinch someone out of another environment that's had that 2 or 3 years of investment in them. Certainly from a cost efficiency perspective, it's actually not a bad way to do it. And then again today, you can see all the shifting late with all the points. The point calculation now with all the picks has actually been really interesting to watch all the academy teams now stocking up. So that's added another dimension to it as well. Can you offer someone an extra 50, 60, 70 points over where they might be placed? But look, it seems like it's heading more down that path, and the American sports have certainly got some expertise that we can tap into.
How pivotal was it having the future draft picks to be able to make some of these players be able to change homes?
It's a really interesting one because it seems like players' values have almost escalated overnight, simply because they're there. The picks are now allowed to be asked for, whereas in the past it's been, well, that sort has been the value. So the market value has almost been reset overnight with having that flexibility. It makes it more interesting. It makes it more detailed because you have to actually really be clear about what that next year's selection potentially could look like. You're almost dealing in the futures, aren't you? You know, it's a bit like going to the stock market. But that's I like it. I really like it. The club supports the future pick, the future trading. So how far that will venture, I think it'll be a little bit like free agency. I think it'll be that 4 or 5 year period where you'll see a number of different areas break open to be able to assess it, and then it'll be reviewed at the correct point in time. But I like it. I think it adds a dimension to our capacity to plan and execute.
You mentioned
you brought up
speed a
the-
few times.
Last one, guys.
Mentioned speed a few times.
Yep.
And you've obviously brought in a few players with a bit of quickness. Is that something that the new coach has come in and identified as we want a bit more pace?
No, Don came in about 3 days before the trade period. So very hard for a senior coach to come in that short period of time. I mean, you've got to understand the process of, you know, bringing those guys in. One is you've got to have eyes on the talent, so you've got to watch them to make sure that what you're bringing in is what you need. There's medicals to do, there's interviews to do, so you've got to fit them in your TPP. So there's a whole range, but certainly we briefed Don as soon as he came on board that's where we were heading, and he didn't disagree as to that was a good need for us to fill.
David, you brought up the integrity unit. Is there a reason why they're taking so long on the targets?
No, I don't think so. I think I think you'd be surprised how much work they've got.
Any good clues to when they're going to clear it up?
No, look, as far as we're concerned, we've finished with our part of it.